I have the most strategic and tactical advice for people who are concerned about the current administration. And I know those same people aren't going to want to take it. But if they do, boy, oh boy, will opportunities abound. I'm Chris Cuomo. Welcome to the Chris Cuomo Project. Here is my simple advice, which will be misunderstood, which will be rejected, and hopefully by some, they'll recycle it and wind up in a much better place. And here it is. Hold your fire. Now, hold your fire sounds what? Weak. You're telling me to just sit and take what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing that I hate, that I'm against, that I oppose, that I think is dangerous, annoying, obnoxious, frustrating. Yes, I am. And I'll tell you why. If you want to be effective, if you want to manifest your concerns in something positive, listen to me. Hold your fire comes from what? Military, musket and cannon days. Why? Because it was hard to reload and you had to make the most of it. And you had to wait and be patient until you had your target in the most opportunistic location. Similarly now, though it's a strained metaphor because of the surplusage, the surfeit, the overwrought nature of social media, where everybody seems to have a gazillion bullets, why would I liken it to musket or cannon fire? It seems to be the opposite. It seems to be all machine gun all the time. Because quality counts. And in that noise, in that digital sphere of constant provocation and baiting and gotchas, you've got to make the most of every at-bat, of everything. So, with that as just a little bit of a psychological underpinning, why would you hold your fire? What about that salute from Elon? What about what his dad is saying about his mom's family and their apartheid sympathies? Those are two very different things that are being tied together out of convenience. I don't believe Elon Musk was making a Nazi salute. I don't. Because that would mean that the same guy who's making the Nazi salute also wears a dog tag around his neck to support the hostages that are still stolen in Gaza. That's a weird Nazi. I don't buy it. He said, I'm sending my heart out to you. That's what he did. Is it a bad move? Yeah, it was a bad move. It looks like something he didn't intend. Now, what his father is saying is something different. And I think that if the narrative his father is taking about the Nazi and apartheid sympathies of his mother's family, which that's the side of the family that I guess Elon Musk is supposedly closer to, I think he could have some problems and you would see Trump move away from him. Just like we just saw with Ramaswamy. I told you, Trump is a fickle lover, okay? Talk to the guys who were around him last time. Where are they now? Why are they all gone? Because he's got new guys. Yeah, because he learned and now No, it's not about growth. It's about the fickle nature of fealty. He goes with people who are kissing his ass in the moment, that he likes in the moment, and he likes new. And that's why Ramaswamy was out. He wrote that stupid thing after Christmas. He's gone because now he's not an asset. Same thing may happen with Musk. That's why the other tech bros are gathered, because they all know there's opportunity there. So why would you hold your fire? These J6 pardons, the salute, what he said about the cartels, here's why. These are not policies. These are promises. What do you mean the J6 isn't a policy? Just let people out of jail. Presidents are allowed to pardon, okay? And if you want to do it, you got to do it on a relative basis. I don't like a lot of the pardons. Pardons are always a weird thing, all right? Every president I've covered, some of them don't really make sense. They seem to be reinforcing the wrong policies. In fact, I don't understand why a president can pardon at all. It reeks of kingmanship, and of being a king, a monarch. It's a complete aberration of the separation of powers and what we're supposed to be about empowering the collective. It's always bothered me. And when you go back into the legislative history, the constitutional foundational arguments that they did during the convention, a lot of the founders felt that way too. I think that they were just biased by their experience with a monarchy, and it was hard to pull away from it completely. I think that they were just familiar with certain concepts, and this was one that leaked in, but I don't know why we need it, and I don't know that it's a good thing. And I think you see that with Biden, and now you see it with Trump. Some of these people that he let out on J6 hurt people. They did it for bad reason, and they planned it. Now, the election is over. His sympathies towards those people have been weighed and measured by the American people. He said during the campaign he would pardon them, and now he did. For you to renew the litigation over it is a waste of time and will change nothing. Oh, but we must call it. No, you must not call out every grievance. No, you don't have to do that. It is not a requirement. You're supposed to be doing things that are effective to your goals, your political goals. Oh, I'm law and order. Please spare me that shit, okay? What we're about too often is advantage. And you will not get advantage over Trump by criticizing him for releasing the J6 people. He said he was going to do it. These are his people. He did it. And you have to remember, there is a moral confusion on this. I think attacking the Capitol was worse than anything that I have seen. But I do understand the perspective of people who watched all the BLM stuff and all the businesses that were ruined and all the violence and all the destruction in the police station and that nothing happened to anybody. I get it. I do not see them as the same, but I understand why it motivates a certain understanding about January 6th that I do not agree with. But I get it. And I get it enough to know that I'm not going to change it, and neither will you. Oh, but I must make my witness. I have to speak the truth. I don't think that's really true. One, because it doesn't make anything better, and I don't think that a lot of the same people who want to go crazy about the Trump are honest about their own in this last administration and in this process. But what's more important than that, because I don't want to judge any of you, it's a waste. I just want our politics to be more productive. And I know that these party platforms, and that's your position, the posture is from a party perspective is just poison. And I'm sorry for all the but it is. It is. Trump is a symbol for his supporters. You're not going to change their feelings about him as a symbol because what underlies it, their frustration, their fear is real, and you will not convince them otherwise. You don't get to tell people that they're wrong to feel the way they do in politics. You can do it, but it's not going to work for you. Learn the lesson. Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from Factor. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? You cannot out-train a bad diet. That's where Factor comes in. Chef-made gourmet meals makes eating and eating well easy. They're dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so you can fuel right, feel right, no matter what life throws at you. Factor comes fresh, fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. How about losing 8 pounds in 8 weeks because of Factor Keto meals? Based on a randomized, controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto, you may be able to do it. Of course, results are going to vary. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it is easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Cuomo50off and use the code Cuomo50off, and guess what you get off? 50% off your first box with free shipping. That's code Cuomo50off at factormeals.com/Cuomo50off, and you get bingo 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from Shopify. Shopify. If you want to learn how to sell, you got to be with people who know how to make the most of the digital marketplace, okay? Everybody wants to start a business. We're all in entrepreneurial mode now, right? This is a let's do this. Now is the time. That's the vibe, right? But here's the thing. How do you maximize? How do you make sure that what you have to sell is going to get to the right people the right way so that you secure transactions instead of, at best, just browsers? Shopify makes it simple to create your own brand, get you open for business, and get your first sale, and it can do it quickly and efficiently. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, don't it? Sign up for your $1 a month trial period at shopify.com/ChrisC. That's all lowercase. Shopify.com/ChrisC. All lowercase. And you can start selling with Shopify today. How do I get it? Shopify.com/ChrisC. So, because Trump is a symbol to his supporters, the idea of waking them up to some reality that they have not yet realized is low percentage at best. The reason you hold your fire is because there is going to be ample opportunity to assess the deliverables on the promises, the reality of MAGA, the reality of Trump and what he means for America and what his cabinet does and undoes, okay? You're going to have plenty of opportunity, and you are compromising the effectiveness and the capabilities of criticism and of counter arguments and debate if you go ugly early, as what's happening right now. And I watch it all over the media. Nobody learned the lesson. Can you believe he said this? Can you believe he said this? Do you think this is a Nazi salute? I think it may be a Nazi salute. Do you think he's a Nazi? And, well, that's why he'd be with Trump. Isn't Trump a Nazi? It didn't work. It's not true. It doesn't need to be true for you to have ample opportunity to look at things about him and what he does and put them in a critical light, okay? Wait on what happens, not because you're weak, but because that is how you will be strong. And we need that in our society. We do not need empty bickering that never moves the needle except for podcasters in ski hats that are in the provocation game. They're the only ones who profit from this. Second are the party people, because the which is worse works in their agglomeration efforts of cobbling together power bases, because the division only helps them. It does not help us. It does not create progress. Look, the MAGA folks may think that they've had a win and things are going to go their way. Why? Because he says the U.S. government only recognizes two genders? What does that mean? Does that mean that someone who's trans no longer has protection of law? I don't think so. I don't think so. An executive can't undo a statute any more than Trump can undo TikTok. I don't know why but everybody's doing this with TikTok. I really don't. I don't understand it. Every lawmaker I talk to says they were in a skiff, they were in a classified environment, and they were given clear indication that China is doing this. Well, then why wasn't it an emergency move immediately when Trump said it in 2020 as an executive order? Well, why did it take so long? Why are so many of these lawmakers on? Oh, well, it's not allowed on their government devices. But they still have accounts. If it's so fucking bad and nefarious and obvious, why are they on it? Why is this taking so long? It doesn't seem right to me. And how we can have this move and no discussion of the users, 170 million people, 7 million businesses, 23 billion plus in transactions. None of that matters because it's not a First Amendment issue, because there's no First Amendment right to ownership by a foreign entity. And that's the end of the analysis, even for the Supreme Court. Doesn't make sense. And I'm not that dumb that it's just me that I don't get it. It's China, end of discussion. I don't get it because I feel that Zuckerberg and Musk and the other guys are working our information and our dialogues on their platforms. So what's my point? Hold your fire. You're going to have opportunities. It is not weakness. It is strength, because you don't want to waste your outrage. You don't want to waste these things. And I see it. I see it happening already. And that's why I put this out so quickly after the inauguration. Focus on the policies. Well, look, he withdrew from the WHO. That's a policy. No, it's a point of leverage. He is going to mess with the relationship because he believes that America's not getting value and that the WHO isn't worth it. That is his prerogative as president. You can disagree, but we just had an election. He won. The idea that he doesn't get to exercise his authority and his discretion doesn't make sense. Okay? Believe me, I heard the same thing from his people when Biden won. All right? Now, J6, he said he was going to do it. He did it. I think it was a mistake for him to release some of the people that he did. I also don't think it matters because this pardon power is ridiculously absolute. And those people are in his ranks. There are a lot of good people in his ranks, but there are bad people in his ranks too. And is that more true than it usually is? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It doesn't matter to me. We are where we are. When you look at the, not postures, but policies, the infrastructure bill, building out AI infrastructure. Okay. It borrows a lot from a bill that he completely condemned known as Trump's Inflation Reduction Act, which was largely infrastructure. And that matters. And that is a point of comparison that we're going to be able to do as it builds out. And it'll be really relevant in terms of what's he's actually doing versus just taking credit for. Similarly, on the economy, have you noticed that whether it's the infrastructure thing that he's going to do, the roundups, how he hasn't mentioned healthcare yet in the inaugural, and his already stepping away from the ability to control prices? These are the things that matter. These are the things that were the basis of the determination of this election. Sure, there were other factors as well. I think the democratic process. I think the democratic rhetoric. I think Harris being a woman. I think being a black woman. I think all of these things were factors, but I think the analysis that matters is what mattered most. And I don't think any of those things I just said were what mattered most. I think the votes were about prices, including healthcare and home ownership prices, immigration and fixing, which is where the roundups come in, which I think are a clumsy and overextension of the real need. I think the real need is rule changes and the amount of infrastructure and capability you have on the southern border to process, hold, and return. However, that's not sexy. Roundup is sexy. Wall is sexy. It sounds strong. It sounds definitive. I think it sounds, to me, deceptive. But we will watch, and then we will assess. And you don't want to get in front of it. Now, if you take this advice, you will see that there are opportunities, but there are also challenges. When you are speaking out, of course you can do it on an individual basis, but if what this is about is people wanting to build coalition, who? Independent critical thinkers, I think, is your best shot. One, they're on the come. People are getting sick of the parties. Thank God, thank God. Why? They're bad for us. They're good for them, they're bad for us. Why? What else in your life do you have two choices in? And where really it's only one choice. And how's it get you to a better place? How have the parties gotten us to a better place? So independent critical thinkers are a real thing. Now you have to look a little deeper though in terms of where you're going to look for them. I think there are two groups that are ignored. Trump got one of them to feel a little bit of stickiness to his talk, a little bit of connection to it. I think without trying or almost coincidentally. Young men. Democrats don't speak for or to young men. They are most often the villain. They are most often they who must give ground and space and opportunity to others. They are the Me Too villain. They are prone to cancellation. And all of their metrics are going the wrong way. the rates of education, the income, the loneliness, the disassociation. Young men are in trouble, and specifically young white men have been targeted in a way that I know there's so many eye rolls right now. And oh, poor you white men. Well, I'm not talking about me. I'm old. I'll get to me in a second. But I do think you need to, as we used to say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because again, in politics, you don't get to tell people they're wrong to feel how they feel. You have to meet them where they are and do something about it that makes them see you as the best option for them in terms of allegiance, in terms of cooperation, in terms of their approval. I'm telling you, you can do the research yourself. People are speaking about this more and more. There's a reason that these toxic and truly, truly toxic, mistaken alpha males, like they think they're alpha males maybe because they're really tough and can fight, or they're really rich or famous, whatever they are. That's not being an alpha. An alpha is a man who is leading by their best example, not the most pussy that they get or the most cars or cash or any other crude assessment. And yet, they're blowing up in digital media where people have the ability to follow and show preferences without being judged for it, the way that happens in more transparent society. And why? Because the men are looking. They are desperate. They are worried. They are disassociated. You know, just think about how casually we throw around the word incel. Involuntarily celibate. Like it's just this casual thing that just exists. Think about how dire that situation is. It's not like they're studying for the priesthood. These are men who are so out of it, young men who are so out of it, that one of the main drivers in their lives is a completely voided zone. How sad that is, how enraging it must be. And yet you just mark it off as this is why they suck. I'm telling you it's a mistake to ignore them. I'm telling you that it hurt you in this election if you were against Trump, and I'm telling you it's going to get worse for you. The idea, well, his policies won't bear out for them and then they'll see that they should be Democrats. It's about the talk as much as the walk. This is politics, okay? This isn't a contract to build something for somebody. Not really. The talk can be enough, and Trump empowers them. And you may not like it, you may not think it's genuine, and you may be right, but it's still real and it's still happening. And Democrats need to think about that if they want to be relevant. And people who are against Trump, a lot of you aren't Democrats. A lot of you just believe that he is beneath the standard of what should be a leader in this country. And I don't disagree with you, except that his personal characteristics did not define him in the eyes of our fellow Americans. And that matters too. Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from iRestore. Holidays are over, sure, but it is never too late to give yourself what you really want. How about you treat yourself with the iRestore Elite, and then you can get that hair regrowth solution that you actually deserve. Listen, science has moved the bar. This is not a gadget. It is a powerful, FDA-cleared laser cap designed to fight thinning hair and hair loss with clinically proven results. So for me, it's about technology, okay? What is vetted, what isn't. FDA approved matters. Having a wife, Christina, who owns The Purist, a wellness business where she's always researching and looking at technologies, and I know that light therapy is absolutely the cutting edge. And that's why I wanted you to know about the iRestore Elite. Now's the perfect time to treat yourself. For a limited time only, our listeners get 625 buckaroos off their iRestore Elite when you use the code Chris at iRestoreLaser.com. $625 off your iRestore Elite at iRestoreLaser.com. Promo code Chris. Please support the show. Tell them that we sent you. Hair loss, frustrating, but you don't have to be frustrated. You can fight back with iRestore. Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from Select Quote. So, here I am in my mid-50s, okay? I got 3 kids. I'm blessed to have a wife. I've got financial responsibilities. I've got real estate. I have a very uncertain estate tax environment. What am I talking about? I'm talking about what I need to secure for my family. Same concerns you have. And you know where it takes you? Into the world of life insurance. And man, is that a scary world. Everybody seems to be on the make. Everybody seems to be looking to take. But, even though I've been in this business a long time and it takes a lot for me to be surprised, there is something new to worry about, but I have a solution for you, so don't worry. There's so much out of our control when it comes to insurance and rates and how they get you on the back end or it gets canceled in ways you didn't expect, right? How do you get control? Because this is about your financial future. Go to Select Quote. Get your life insurance right. Get it for you, for less. Go to selectquote.com/Chris C. Selectquote.com/Chris C. Get there today and get your quote. Takes me to the next group that needs to be addressed and is ignored and is a tremendous opportunity. And yes, this is a statement of personal interest. 50 to 60-year-old people in America are, in my estimation, one of, if not the most robust and available parts of the electorate. Think about people in that age group. Advertisers want 18 to 34, 25 to 54. I feel like their outside range is actually the beginning. What 25-year-old, what 30-year-old, what 35-year-old can spend like a 55-year-old? Who? Who is buying the car of their dreams? Who's buying the third car? Who's buying the second house? Who's upgrading the house? Who's living their best life? Who's going on their trips? Who's making the decisions for kids and young adults? Who's running the businesses? Who's running the law firms? Who's running the HVAC companies? Who's at the top of the artisan class to the extent that it is still out there and something to be appreciated, which I hope you know is my position. 50 to 60. Now, I could argue 50 to 68, but one step at a time. 50 to 60. No one speaks to them. No one speaks to Gen X. They are just constantly a byproduct. We're dealing with kids and TikTok and all these things. Well, who are their parents? I am. Well, we're talking about the big earners and how they're going to feel about that. Who are the high earners? We are. People in this age. They're the people who are running businesses, small businesses, big businesses, professional organizations. They're the parents. They're educated. They are also really culturally accessible and really averse to extremes. We are the last generation who remembers a pre-cell phone existence. We are the last generation who doesn't need to be taught about being mindful or present because we used to spend time alone as latchkey kids. We are a generation who understands the bridge between immigrant and native. We are the last one who gets the difference and distinction between and among the old and the new. We have money, we have power, we have access, we have education. Who's working us? Oh, and we're now into this thing called 50 plus fitness, which I just started reading up in. My wife is way ahead, and her girlfriends, friend of mine, Brooke Shields. Have you looked at what she's doing now with her life? I mean, it's like this whole resurgence, this rebirth. These people are in ridiculous shape. They're doing some of the biggest and best things of their lives in their 50s. Who's talking to them? Even the politicians who are in their age range don't really identify with them. I think it's a huge missed opportunity. So hold your fire. There are going to be opportunities because either by action or inaction, Trump is going to set himself up for judgment, as all presidents do. It's not wait to get Trump. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being productive. There's no reason to get Trump. He's done in 4 years. No, he's never going to leave. He's a dictator. Well, then we're going to have way bigger fucking problems. So there's no reason to worry now. Enjoy the fucking ride because you're not getting them out. And if this is going to be a new oligarchy or whatever it is, like really? Now you think America's an oligarchy? Now? People have been bitching about this chasm between haves and have-nots and income equality and corporations that have turned capitalism into just unconscious greed for years and years. And now you're worried about an oligarchy because a few guys who are hanging out with Trump are really rich and have access and power? Really? That has existed for such a long time. It is so disingenuous. It is so intellectually dishonest and just dishonest, period, to suggest that this is a new thing. Shame on Maddow and MSNBC and all these lefties who are now claiming it's there. It's always been there. And everybody knows it. It doesn't just matter now because you think you can play it to advantage. Hold your fucking fire. And there will be opportunities when he doesn't have what it takes to lower prices, when he thinks another tax cut that isn't paid for is the solution, although I don't think his own party is going to let him do it. When he's not talking about health care because he's stubbornly tied to this bullshit narrative about Obamacare so they won't make it better, which it needs. They keep it from being improved because they said they were going to get rid of it. They're never going to get rid of it. There's your opportunity. Healthcare, prices, roundups, the ability to get comprehensive immigration reform, and those Democrats better be on board with it. This birthright citizenship, 14th Amendment thing, this is a distraction. Trump can't do it. Not by executive order, he can't. And if they're going to change birthright citizenship, then you're going to need a constitutional amendment. Or at a minimum, you're going to need a Supreme Court case. And we're nowhere near either of those things. So why is all this going on? Why am I constantly getting pitched to have to talk about this? Hold your fire. And there will be opportunities. And think about who you want on your team and what you want it about. Think about young men. Think about 50 to 60. You can have both. They have common concerns. Like what? Take a page out of the book of the woke. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They don't want to be talked about. They want to be talked to. Not dismissed as some byproduct or some casualty of progress. Hold your fire. You are not a bad salute away from regaining advantage. Trump is going to say a lot of annoying things. What do they matter? Learn the lesson of the first time. I know my media brothers and sisters aren't going to do it. Did you hear them in the press conference when he was signing the executive orders? They were so hungry for copy, so hungry for content, I mean. There is no more copy. It's all content now. With print, written, audio, whatever it is, it's just content. It's just feeding the beast. That has never been more true. Social media is a beast. It is an unrefined, it is an angry animal. That's what it is. And he just feeds and everybody. And let me ask you something else. And what about this? And what about that? And every one of them is just a little stick. Kick, kick, kick. And then what comes next? People trying to make their name as a brand by going at it with Trump. They're either going to be super loyal to him or they're going to want to be known as his opponent. It's coming. You'll see. We saw this movie before. And they'll make their podcasts, and they'll make their Substacks and their newsletters and things, and they'll play to the polarity, and they'll get paid. But what happens to the rest of us? What happens to all of us? Not much. Not much. That's good. You can wear your hat. It can be vibrant and loud and obvious, but that doesn't mean that the reality will match the enthusiasm of what's on your head. versus what's put into your head by the man who was elected president. Hold your fire. The opportunities will be there to fight about what matters and to demand action on the same, not yip-yap that does well for ratings. Left and right are losing ground to reasonable. There should be a new national religion, okay? And it is pragmatism. We should be all about what is getting done and undone and how it moves the needle for the most people. The border's fucked. Where is immigration reform? Gas is too expensive. I don't believe we can pump our way out of it. Not really. It's a world market. And guess who's going to be explaining that to you in a few months? Donald Trump. Well, if OPEC, Russia, China, these guys are doing this to us, and these guys are doing this, and Maduro's doing that in Venezuela. They're the bad guys, because otherwise our gas would be 10 cents. He's going to start saying what has been said every time he says he can pump his way out of gas prices. It doesn't work like that. You can pump more, you can have more, you can have strategic reserves. Sure. It's not going to put gas back into the $1 range. It's a world market that is almost equally controlled by the United States, OPEC, China, and Russia. So we don't have the control that you think we have. Grocery prices. He already said to you, it's hard to bring them down. Where the fuck was that during the campaign? That's politics. That's on the Democrats for not winning that argument with the American people. That's not Trump's fault. That's what these people do. That's the nature of binary politics. But when he can't fix it now and he starts to blame it on other things, now you have an opportunity. Now you have an opportunity to build and galvanize. Not because you hate Trump, not because Trump is stupid, a racist, a rapist, whatever. None of that helps build a coalition. You have those people already. If you want to oppose what you believe the Trump administration is about, wholesale, without even looking to see what happens, without even wanting to recognize that certain of the things that he won on matter to a lot of people in this country and probably should. Hold your fire and you will have ample opportunity. By just saying you hate everything he does and hate everything he says and you hate everybody around him, you're going to get nowhere than where you are already, which is clearly not where you want to be. Hold your fire. I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you for joining me here on the Chris Cuomo Project, subscribing and following. I don't believe in left and right. I believe in reasonable. And I think there is a way through it. And I think a big part of it is exposing what these parties and these players and the media and the digital media and everybody that picks sides for their own advantage is doing to the whole. We can do better. Let's get after it. I'll see you on News Nation, 8 p. Eastern every weekday night. You want this without the ads? Get it on the Substack. That's where I'm also taking you through my body reclamation journey. As I go from fat ass who's sweating French fry oil into who and how I want to be, even with long COVID and dealing with that too. It's all there for you, $5 a month or $50 a year, which is a good deal when I'm looking at other content like it, and certainly the access that I'm getting to the experts that I'm using. Thank you very much for giving me the time and the opportunity.